Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc., the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Our guardian of the blue paint turned writer continues to keep the paint clear with his latest, Bring in a Bully for Broad Street. Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up with Lance's latest about a misstep on a player we covet.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And oh my, have we got a really good show for you today. Whew. Can the Flyers turn it around in time? That's the name of this show for this week. And Lance, you got some really great articles that you put out that we're going to get into here that's going to talk just exactly about that. And man, I'll tell you what. I'm trying to be good, man. I'm trying to be good, right? I'm trying to be good, right? How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to get this show started and look forward to it. So,
Me too. Me too. First of all, we'd like to give the Hockey Writers Inc. salute to Jamie Bascal and the FlyersNittyGritty.com group for allowing us to make the Bleacher Reports once again, 17 weeks in a row. Oh my gosh, it doesn't matter. Whenever we release the show, it just goes right to Bleacher Report. So it's like, all right, okay. Yeah, definitely for sure. Thank you very much to the FlyersNittyGritty.com and all of their support and everything they do. And thanks for allowing the big writer extraordinaire Lance Green there to be writing for them too. So and he gets to go cover games and he looks like the Dapper Dan when he's all ready to go for games. Oh yeah, man. All right, cool. We would like to thank our sponsor, Canine Country Club Resorts. They take care of all of your pets' needs, from daycare to spa treatments and even pool time. Check them out on the web at www.cccresorts.com. Thank you very much. So here's our first article that we're going to get into, Lance. And with all the problems the Flyers have on defense and the lack of physicality and in the lineup, why not bring in a bully, a healthy one, to help Broad Street? And who is that guy? Tell me.
that is none other than Sam Moran.
Yes, yeah, yes. Okay. Cool. Great article, Lance. It was posted out on Flyers Nitty Gritty just the other day, and it's still hot, still relevant. We've talked at length about Samuel. You know what I mean? And you you dive into it very deftly in your article. What is it about Sam that we like?
Well, he brings an aspect of the game that the Flyers are lacking. He's 6'6", 6'7", 227 pounds. He is a physical specimen, for to say the least.
Yeah.
Uh, I think he's been handcuffed a little bit, honestly, in his time when he's in Philly this season as a winger. I don't know why. I guess they thought the Flyers had a lot of depth at defense, and clearly they don't with the latest brutal beating they took from the New York Rangers. But that's for later, I guess. But it just strikes my point home that much more in this article. And I go over that the fact that they don't want or don't show any need to bring him up defensively. And even AV said he's playing defense down in Lehigh because they're short on offensemen or they're short on wingers. So
Huh?
I
What?
don't really get that. Yeah, I don't really get that. They want to put him on defense because they keep calling other guys up like Nate Process or
Gotcha.
and all this.
Yeah.
I really don't get it. Um, hi- his fascination with wanting him to play wing. He's a natural defenseman. He's huge. He lays people out when they come across the blue line. He doesn't let them skate by him. And he's feared in the AHL right now, and as he should be. He's very
That's
physical. He will fight at the drop of a hat to protect his teammates, and he's exactly what the Flyers need right now.
yeah. I oh my gosh. Okay. So the next question obviously is, well, how come he's not in yet? What are we waiting for? I mean, what? are we waiting for? Why is he not in yet?
I really don't get why. I think it's because AV fears that he will take dumb penalties. He's a guy that likes his team not to take dumb penalties. He doesn't want to be found on the penalty kill, but they're doing that by themselves already.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that is the case. He doesn't like physicality in the lineup. It's clear to see. And to bring Nate back up, a 34-year-old over no over Moran, I just don't get it, guys. It's really scratching my brain to try to wrap my head around why this kid isn't getting a chance. He's a restricted free agent, and why not give him one last shot here in Philadelphia? Are you going to bring him back after this season if he just stays down at Lehigh again and doesn't really get a shot?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so with all the talented young defenders coming up, but he brings something that none of them do in that physicality role
Exactly. Exactly.
and that defender, that policeman that he can be. So I really don't get why you wouldn't give him a shot, especially after going 9-0 in a loss. With Sanheim and Myers being a -6. Why not sit one of those guys down or somebody else down and give Sam Moran a shot at defense and let him show you what he can do 100% healthy?
Let me just say this, okay? And I agree with. We've spoken on numerous shows about this. You've written numerous articles. Here's another perfectly explained in detail article about what is going on here. And let's face it, the whole Sam Moran at wing is a complete and utter failure. I don't even know why that was even brought out to the public or why that was even an attempt to do so. I mean, that in and of itself has a lot of flags for me. Okay, when you bring somebody in, when you're trying to, look, if you're trying to give somebody a chance to play and get on the ice, then don't make them convert into something that they're not. Put them out there and make them do something that they were, been doing their whole life. It's just me. I mean,
Yeah, the reason you drafted him. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a coach. I've never skated in anger at a game in hockey. I have never laced them up. Okay? So I have no room to talk about what these players are doing or going through. Okay? But I have surrounded myself with people who have. And you being one of them. Okay? And I'm sorry, but asking a guy like you've played goalie your whole life, that would be like asking you to play center. I mean, I'm not saying that you couldn't. You know how to skate.
I can't. I
No, but
try
I mean,
in open hockey. I can't take a face off to save my life. I
okay,
can play
okay,
defense. I can play wing. I can't take a face off. Lose every one.
okay, but you can at least skate.
Yes.
You can at least hit. You can at
Yes.
least pass.
Yep.
Okay, so you get the basics down, and
Slash, cross check. Yeah, punch. Yes.
yeah, elbow,
Yeah, yeah.
all those good things. Exactly. All right. So, but that's kind of what I'm talking about here. That doesn't make any sense to me at all, especially at the professional level. It's one thing if you ask an all-star potential Hall of Famer and Claude Giroux to go, "Hey, G, look, we need you to play wing. We know you've played center, but we need you to play wing." And G's like, "All right," and then proceeds to be an all-star at wing. Okay. You're not going to get guys that you're going to be able to take a defensive guy who's 6'6", 6'7", 220 some pounds and say, "Yeah, go play wing." Uh, okay, no. So, all right. Do you agree that we need more than just Sam Moran, though?
For sure. And I wrote that in the article. Do I think Sam Moran is the obvious answer here to all the Flyers' defensive problems? No, absolutely not. But could he stop the bleeding for a little bit and offer them some sort of physicality and protection to the star players so more and more incidences don't keep happening? And that, yes. With that, obviously the Flyers need to go out and if they're going to still be buyers at this time. The trade deadline's not for about 3 weeks now, so a lot could change in that time. We could lose a lot of games like we did last night, or we could win a couple and be on a streak and be buyers. But if they want to do something, I think they need to do it now and not sit on their hands into the trade deadline's
Yeah.
final day.
Yeah.
They need to bring Moran up to give that defenseman role. I don't think we have a ton. I'm writing an article and wrote actually an article about this that should be out by the time this podcast comes out. But
Woo.
we have entirely too many offensive defensemen on this roster, and it's becoming more apparent with each passing game that it's not working. You need a yin and a yang
Yeah.
to go with that.
Yeah.
And Moran would be that yang.
Yeah.
When somebody takes the puck up, Moran would stay back and cover that defensive zone. His long stick and
Yes.
poke check, or
Yes.
his ability to close in and wait for that player to drop their heads and put them on their behinds, is exactly what they need when somebody like
I
Ghost,
agree. Oh, thank you.
Sanheim, or Myers go up
Yes. Yes.
into the offensive zone.
Yeah. No. I agree. And I think that Moran would be a really good pair with Gostisbehere. I think that would be a really good pair because I think Ghost is starting to like I think we're starting to see the real Ghost. You know what I mean? He still makes his little mistakes here's and there's. You know what I mean? But he's been playing really well. He's been jumping up well, and he's been playing pretty. Okay, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but he's been actually playing pretty responsibly, all things considered, on the defensive side of the puck. And I'm saying that about Shane Gostisbehere now. Now that right there has to say ring something odd if I'm saying that about Shane Gostisbehere. You know what I mean? And trying to be positive, trying to be positive.
trying to be. Yeah, I mean Shane at some games I would say is that type player that is showing improvement defensively and willingness to get back, but others he's takes off as well still,
Yeah.
and it's just hurting his stock. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And see, that is the point. And I also agree with you with everything that you said about this article. We have talked about it many times, and you drive it home very well in this article. And there's not going to just be one player that's going to have to come into this lineup that's going to make the corrections. You can't bring Sam Moran in and then heap all that pressure onto this young kid's shoulders and go, well, you're the great savior, and once we bring you up, everything's good. No,
But
no.
yeah, but even if you bring Ekholm or Savard in, like the rumors are out there that they may,
We'll
it's
get into
still not
that.
going to be enough. It's
Yeah.
going to need to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into some of that here a little bit later. But I really do feel that this is a player that should be playing right now. I agree with you. He's already a healthy bull that's playing very well in the AHL, and he would be just the type of person to bring in here to kind of stiffen up the Broad Street's upper lip, if you will, and bring some of that physicality and some of that. Look, we've talked about this a couple of times, but there's no fear from any NHL team coming into the Flyers building, and there hasn't been for a while. Okay, and when you have teams like the Rangers and teams like the bottom of the division coming in and having no fear about coming into your building and just taking games away from you like Buffalo has and whatever. That's I have a hard time with that. You want physicality, but yet you don't bring physicality. You talk about that's something that you want, but yet you don't make that happen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you look at last night with Zibanejad, and he had 2 goals and 2 assists in that game, 4 points. Yet another time where the one person you really should be watching on the ice besides Kreider is left wide open and skates right by people. Like, why not put a body on him?
How
And
many?
nobody seems
Yeah,
able to do so,
yeah,
or wants to do so.
right. And it's not just him. Sabanajat isn't even the guy. It's Panarin, and Panarin was just left to just skate around and do whatever he wanted. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And see, I think in New York, I think Panarin, everything runs through Panarin, and so when he's doing really well, then Zibanejad plays well, Kreider plays well, everybody else plays well. So that's why I think Zibanejad had a good game. I I'm trying to be. I have a lot of things that I don't even know what to think about yesterday's game. I don't want to get into it though. That's I'm trying to stay positive. Trying to stay positive. I want to get into the second article that you wrote because I want to get into some other things here in a little bit. So that you didn't know about. Sorry. That's okay. I'm throwing a little curveball in here to the main man.
It's all
Um,
right. I'm ready.
that's right. That's right. He is the guardian of the blue paint turned writer extraordinaire. So I guarantee he's going to have a glove or a pad or something on that. So he's got the save ready to go. All right. This is the one I want to get into the most. This next article that you wrote, and the reason why I want to get into this is because, well, let's just start off with the title: "Shame on Flyers." Alan Vigneault for calling on something he already had at his disposal. And when you get the guy that you write the article about giving you props about the fact that what you wrote about is so 100% spot on, that dude, that's home run right there. Okay? So, who was this player that AV should have been using and fortunately did not?
Well, that name would be Curtis Gabriel.
Yes.
And last season, Chuck brought him in. He previously was with him in Minnesota, and he brought him in to slot in as that physical presence when needed. Maybe not a every game NHLer, but definitely to play some NHL games to provide that policeman effect on the ice. And AV never used him and kept him down in the minors in the AHL with the Phantoms. And even in a preseason game, Kurtis was asked to fight by Ross Johnson from the Islanders and really not even given a chance to say yay or nay. He just was going to fight him. And Kurtis put his hands down and let the refs jump in and chose not to fight, which is totally not like him. When now with the San Jose Sharks, since the Flyers didn't re-sign him or he didn't want to re-sign with the Flyers,
Mm-hmm.
you now see him fighting on back-to-back nights versus everybody, tough competitors, Ryan Reeves, Nicholas uh, Deslaurnay, from Anaheim, et
Yeah.
cetera. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody, this guy is fearless dropping the gloves. And it's not just we need that goon
No.
presence out of there.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
but he alone has came in and said that he's going to protect his teammates. And if that means fighting, with stitches, fighting with a broken knuckle or finger, he's going to do it and risk that to provide that ability to protect his teammates.
I don't see. This is why I can't put my finger on this, Lance. I just can't about what's going on with this team. But I am going to say this. But how do you have the general manager bring in a player specifically for that, and then the coach doesn't play that player or
Mm.
doesn't bring that player up? Or the fact that the certain players have been made available to the coach and he has not taken advantage of some of those players that have been made available. Such players could be Moran, such players could be, I mean, at this
Nate
point,
Nate Thompson, Chris Stewart,
yeah,
all these guys are not the elite guys like Tom Wilson, but they were fully capable of providing a fourth line role, a protector to come in. And I mean, Chris Stewart played in just 16 games with the Flyers and got in covering
four or
his
five.
teammates behinds 5 times in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
taking on some huge names. Uh, in the fisticuffs area. And Sam Moran, he seems to follow suit like Gabriel did when he's up with the Flyers this season, and has not dropped the gloves when needed to, and you know uh, was talking with Matt Martin, but never chose to drop the gloves with him. So it leads me to believe that AV is behind the lack of physicality and the lack of fighting um, that goes on. There's no way on this earth, guys, that a Nolan Patrick, just coming back from concussions, needs to step in and try to protect Claude Giroux in one of the latest games when he had a knee-to-knee hit out there, and then looked like a deer in headlights when the guy actually grabbed onto him,
Yeah.
so that
Oh no,
uh,
what do I do?
right, so that Voracek has to come
Come
in and
in,
bear hug
yeah.
the guy so that he doesn't then hurt Nolan Patrick. A guy making over $8 million a season shouldn't be the one trying to protect the players, guys. We're not trying to call for goons here. We're trying to get somebody to protect a guy that will protect these guys in these incidences because they're becoming more current.
And they're becoming more prevalent. Like
Yes.
when somebody lays down on top of Couturier and elbows him
El-
in the head
yeah.
while he's on the ice, laying on top of him.
And then gets up and lays punches onto his head, and nobody does anything.
And it seems awful funny how Scott Lawton gets an MMA takedown right on his head and neck, and when you actually look at the slow motion of the play itself, every single referee is doing this. They're all turning their heads, going into a different direction, not even looking at the play.
I didn't want to see that play either. It looked horrendous.
But
Thought he was going to break his neck.
thank God he didn't.
Right.
But this seems to be happening like every other game. Somebody takes a shot at one of the players on the Flyers.
And what happens is all the Flyers turn their heads to what just happened because they don't want to have to deal with it.
Exactly. I have a hard time with that. If
But a
you're
guy like Sam Moran and Kurtis Gabriel would.
But see, now you mentioned something about what was going on there. That maybe it's not them, maybe it's the coach. Maybe it's the coaches that are telling them, look, we don't want you dropping the gloves. Okay. I don't understand that. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Just let guys hit our guys in the head and beat them up against the walls and elbow them while they're down. Please don't do
Boarding,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah, please don't do anything. I find that very difficult to believe a coach is saying that to players. I just, I mean, could I be way off base on that?
I don't think you are really. If you take a look at AV's Vancouver team that did so well, and I think won the President's Trophy uh, one year, uh, they played much of the same role. The Sedin twins were getting beat up on a nightly basis, and there was nothing done about it.
Yeah.
And like the Tampa Bay Lightning, they didn't get all the way to the cups and hoist that cup because they didn't stand that physicality in their lineup that's needed when you're playing a 7-game series
Exactly.
against a playoff team that's going to beat and bang you. There was no repercussions for anyone's actions on playing Vancouver, and now you see much of the same
Yeah.
stuff here in Philadelphia beginning to happen. The players are here. The players are here to be able to protect, and I don't put any fault on Chuck Fletcher. Now, could he have went out and tried to obtain some a little better defense for us this season after Niskanen retired? I think he did try, but he wasn't successful. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the lack of physicality, and those guys have been brought in. They're just not being played.
Yeah, because he did bring some of those guys in last year, Nate Thompson and
Yeah.
and Grant and all them. I get it. And they didn't. Those guys skated away from fisticuffs. Those guys skated away from confrontations. And then we make it to the playoffs, and Montreal and the Islanders just completely and utterly out physical us, straight up. And that's why we lost. I mean, yeah, we barely beat Montreal, but we ran into the Islanders train, and they just ran over us, and we did nothing. We did nothing, and that to me is just when I see other teams doing it for themselves, and then I look at the Flyers, and then I don't see the Flyers doing that. I'm wondering if that's something that's an AV thing that's been, because you said that with Vancouver. When he was
Yes.
with Vancouver, the Sundin twin. I mean, look, those guys are some of the best offensive players to ever lace them up, and the fact that they were brothers and played so well together and both on the same team their entire career, but the fact that they were getting beat up, and see, that doesn't fly with me. Okay, and I agree. We're not looking for goons. We're not looking for knuckle draggers. We never have. Chris Stewart is not a knuckle dragger. Okay, he does provide some good skill. He has some good, he can play on the PK, and I mean, he's not the best skater. You know what I
Well,
mean?
he
But
wasn't he wasn't at the time we brought him in, but he had a very successful career.
that's what I
But
mean.
he then transitioned. He knew his role
Right.
with the team at that point. He was a great leader in the locker room, and he was an excellent mentor to young players. Being in that locker room, the young guys on the team flocked to him. He even
Yeah.
had guys over to his house, the younger ones, for Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner because they're away from their family.
How about that?
uh, he was almost like a dad to some of these guys, and I'm sure he wouldn't like that me saying that reference, but
Well,
you
that's
know,
okay though.
given his age, but that's what he was to these guys. But it didn't seem to matter to AV of that, and it only was brought to light that these accusations and stuff were true when I posted this on Twitter, and Curtis Gabriel liked a lot of the people's responses to my article, saying that I was 100% correct in what my accusations.
Uh,
So that only vindicates it. That
exactly.
it is AV in that sense, that doesn't want this physicality and doesn't want this fighting in his game or on his team.
Yeah, and that's then maybe this might not be the train stop for him then, because you it doesn't seem like that, like this team is. I mean, I don't know. Uh, Look, this is why I wanted to get into this article, because when the guy you talk about in the article tweets back that he likes the article and agrees with it, and I mean, that goes to show you right there that this was pretty much spot on. Okay, so I agree with you 110% on that one, man, for sure. But I'll tell you what, right now we're going to take a little break, and we're going to show a little word here from our sponsor at Canine Country Club Resorts. They will provide all your pet daycare needs. They have an indoor and an outdoor salt filtered pool, so it doesn't affect the dog's coats. They have great professional spa treatments there for the dogs, and all kinds of groomers and great daycare programs. So we're going to take a little minute and have a moment from our sponsors. Greetings. This is SteelFlyers from the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations, both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. They've taken care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God. All right. Thank you very much. That was a word from our sponsor. Thank you very much, www.cccresorts.com. Check them out on the web. You can get all your great pet grooming, daycare, and pool time for your pets. www.cccresorts.com. Thank you very much for being our sponsor. All right, Lance. I wanted to save this little portion of the show for a couple of things that I wanted to talk about that I wasn't going to let you in on because I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. And we kind of briefly got into a little bit here when we were talking about your articles, and we're coming up here about 3 weeks or so from the trade deadline. You know what I mean? And we both have talked about what we feel this team needs, and we both agree that Sam Moran would be a great call up to bring into the lineup on an every game basis. Okay. We've also been hearing some rumblings of some other players that have been going around and things of that nature, of some other players that could potentially be coming to the Flyers. Do you think it's more than just one player that the Flyers need in order to right this ship? And not only is it more than one player, but is there a combination of, do we have the players and or can we go get one of the players? So, like, can we bring a player up and then go trade for one, or whatever, or you know what I mean, something like that. So, what do you think about that? About it, what do you think the Flyers are going to do here? Do you think we have a player on the team that we can bring up, and then do you think we need to go get somebody, or what do you think?
Sure. I'm kind of like I said, I'm working on a piece that should be out soon, but it kind of touches on that. At this point, I think the Flyers need to make a move sooner rather than later. They don't need to wait a couple more weeks until the trade deadline because it may be too late then, and we may be sellers
Yeah.
by that point if they continue on in their path. I I don't think we have that player that could be called up to fix all the problems. Like I said, I think Sam Moran should be given a chance to prove his stuff in the NHL level for a considered amount of time, if for nothing else, than to just say, are we going to sign this guy back or not? I think he was what, 2012, 2013 first round pick. It's high time that you figure if he's going to work or if he's not. And if he's not, then let him go at the end of the season and move on. Or if he is, then bring him into the lineup on a regular basis, like you said. Now, saying that, we do, I think, need to go out and address a right-hand shot defenseman to pair with Provorov on a regular basis. I'm tired of seeing this carousel of defense, two guys in the lineup, two guys out, rotating them around to everybody different partners every single night, something different. I think AV has tried to do, besides bringing Sam Moran up, or Zumala for that matter. I think he's a little too young and he
Oh
needs to stay
gosh,
down
dude.
in the AHL for a complete season. I don't want to rush him along and ruin him, but besides that, I do think we need a right-hand shot defenseman, and I wouldn't say that that should come in the form of a Matthias Ekholm or a David Savard, for that matter. Ekholm is a left-hand shot defenseman, so it
Yeah,
kind of defeats the purpose.
yeah.
David Savard is a right-hand shot defenseman, but both of which are 30 years old.
I
So
like where you're going though.
at this point, I want to see a guy that can come in and be a mainstay on the Flyers blue line for some time. If they're gonna, and I say this in the article that I'm putting out, but if we're going to have to overpay, right now, rumors have it that Nashville is asking a first round pick and two pretty strong
Prospects.
prospects coming back for Ekholm. Now, do I even think Ekholm is going to be that guy that totally makes the Flyers Stanley Cup contenders? No, I don't. I don't. But if we're going to have to overpay for somebody, and I think we have the prospects here uh, in every position that we could be willing to give up a couple of them and a first round pick for a guy that's considerably younger than that uh, on a team that could be that guy to slot along side Provorov for the next few seasons for sure. I would be willing to do that at this point. I think that we have too many offensive-minded defensemen on the team now, and in the prospects pool. And there's no yin and yang. We need a physical. We need a stay-at-home defenseman to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I asked you that question because of exactly that particular point right there. If you bring in Sam Moran, he would be a good pair with Provorov. I liked the article that you wrote a couple of shows ago about Yomperson. That I think he would be. I would much rather get. I would much rather get him than Ekholm. You know what I mean? Just be. I know he doesn't have an expiring contract, but he gives you that kind of stability. He gives you that kind of. Plus, he also is not going to be a rental. You know what I mean? And he's probably not going to necessarily. You might not necessarily need to protect him in the upcoming draft. You know what I mean? Because he might not be somebody that Seattle's going to be looking for. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
right. Yeah, I think the rumors out there of Goligoski coming in. I think that's
I don't want
totally
that.
not what we need.
Yeah, I agree.
He would definitely be a lot cheaper than Ekholm or Savard or somebody else that I have in mind. But um, he's not going to be worth it. I'd rather have Jarmelson from the Coyotes if I'm going to take anybody from the Coyotes or try to acquire anybody from the Coyotes at that point. He has 3 Stanley Cup rings and can play both sides, either left or right.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that would be better, but I think at this point we might not. We might even need 2 defensemen if they try Moran and he doesn't work out.
So now, okay, so now, and I also like the article that you wrote too about Barclay Goodrow too from Tampa Bay, if they're willing, because they are in big time cap purgatory, and
Mhm.
with Kucherov coming back, and they're gonna actually wait for him to come back. You know what I'm saying? So they might be sellers
Well,
come the
yeah, I don't know if they'll be sellers. I think they'll try to probably just bury a couple players that they don't need anymore once he comes back. But I think Barclay would be he's an unrestricted free agent at season's end, and I
Yep.
think he would be a piece that would come in after the season ends. I don't
Okay.
think that
Okay.
Tampa Bay is going to want to get rid of anybody,
Yeah, okay.
especially of his caliber. I think they're going to get
Just
rid of
throwing it
some
out there.
older guys or
Yeah.
something.
Just throwing it
Yeah,
out
I
there
mean,
because you wrote about him, so I just wanted
yeah,
to throw it out there.
yeah, definitely. But I think that piece comes after this
Okay.
season, especially if Scott Lawton gets picked up or decides to go elsewhere. So I hope not. Obviously, he's a great player, but you never know what's in these players' minds, and you always got to have that next guy up in your mind that you can go get or trade for.
Yeah.
If a player like that does decide to sign elsewhere. Just because you want to throw a bunch of money at a guy doesn't mean that he wants to
To take
stay
it.
or doesn't mean that he wants to take it and come to your place. There's, 29, 30 other teams that he could go play for. And you don't know what factors or friends he may have on another team that may be even more important than that pile of money that you're willing to give him.
Exactly. And see, that's the other thing too. Here's what my thinking on this whole team is for this year. If they want to try to do something that's meaningful compared to what they did last year, I think there's just going to need to be more than one player that's going to need to come. That's going to need to be into this team, whether it comes from a trade or it comes from within. There's going to need to be more than one player because one player is not going to make this whole thing roll. Okay. I also feel that I'm on the same page with you too. I understand that you can't always have the same lines every single night in and night out. But I would much rather see us trying to go more towards that than what's happening. Because when the coach constantly rotates players around, that doesn't build chemistry. When you constantly have the same guys in the lineup, but yet you put them in different positions with different people, that doesn't build chemistry. Okay? And the fact that it keeps happening every single game. All he keeps doing is rotating in the same players just in different spots. Either, one night Gustafson's out and Hag's in. Hag's out, Gustafson's in. Gustafson's out, Hag's in. You keep rotating around these same guys, and nothing's changing. We're giving
And
up
it's not working.
and we're giving up 9 goals. And when you got a guy like Sam Moran that's sitting down there just waiting to get his shot, when there is a guy like Zumla who could come up for a game or two, or hey, whatever. I mean, at this point, what do we have to lose? We are fifth place in the division. We are on the outside looking in. We got completely throttled by the Rangers. I mean, it's like the guys are out there skating around with blindfolds on. How I saw some plays last night that were very disturbing, Lance, and I wanted to address one of these plays with you, and it was directly off of a face-off in a power play, and I can't remember where in the game this was. I think this was in the first period, or maybe it might have been even in the second period, but the game wasn't that too bad out of hand. But there was a face-off. And the Rangers won the faceoff, which they completely annihilated the Flyers on last night. Was winning faceoffs, which that is completely unheard of. How does a team beat one of the top faceoff teams in the league? I mean, it was ridiculous the number of faceoffs that the Rangers had won compared to what the Flyers had won. During this play, one player from the Rangers gets the puck up against the board, and 4 Flyer players come to meet this player to try to get the puck from him. And not a single Flyer touched this other player, and he was able to continue to skate up the ice and just avoid all 4 players.
Yeah, I agree. Plays like that happen each and every game, and I don't understand that that is not Flyers hockey. We're not obviously the Broad Street Bullies of 1970s anymore, but it and as far as I know, they're still allowed to be checking in hockey, and the Flyers didn't get that memo.
They haven't. had that memo. They don't. I mean, why are you guys even bothering to wear pads?
I don't know.
I mean, other than to protect yourself from, you're running into each other. I saw more of that in the game, in the last two games, where Flyers players were running into each other more so than they were hitting other people. Okay? This was supposed to be a team on paper that was supposed to do better than it did last year. I put some of the blame on Chuck, and I put some of the blame on AV and the rest of the coaching staff. Why I put the blame on Chuck is this. I think that Braun and Gustafson were knee-jerk reactions and should have never have been brought into this team. Ever. Should have never have been brought into this team. The trickle-down effect of bringing that $4 to $6 million of wasted money on this team is paying dividends now, because now you're stuck like Chuck, because you got these two players that can't even be in the lineup on a regular basis, and then when they are, it's like they're liabilities. Okay, and nobody's going to want them, so you're not going to be able to move them, right? And now you're stuck with these guys for at least the next 2 years, both of them, right? So yes, I do put some of the blame on Chuck for those particular moves that were made and leaving Friedman get out onto waivers and stuff like that. I mean, I understand there was some things that were maybe internally going on with Friedman as to why that happened and everything like that, but we'll never know that. But the player of that type of caliber should not be allowed to just walk out of here. The player of Kurtis Gabriel's type of caliber that was brought in here specifically to do a specific thing should not be allowed to walk out of here. Samuel Moran should not be allowed to walk out of here. Okay? Scott Lawton should not be allowed to walk out of here. And because of what Chuck did in this past offseason, some of those players are going to do just that. Walk out of here, and we're not going to get anything for them.
Yeah, very true. I mean, I think to your point, I think Braun, I didn't want to see him come back. I thought, like you said, Friedman and Moran and Igor Zumala could have probably filled one of those three, could have filled that bottom pairing role and been fine that Braun played last season with Hag. And I think I think if Braun was left in that sense as a third pairing defenseman, he would be okay. We wouldn't be as bad. He is still serviceable at that thing. I just think they're playing above his means right now.
Yeah, he's playing way too many minutes. He's playing on way too many situations where he is not the guy to do that.
Right. He's a little older, a little slower, and I think if he played third pairing minutes, he'd be okay. But I think that the Flyers are, in a sense, are just befuddled and in a rut that they need to get out of. They need a major shakeup to happen in the lineup, and they need to happen now. And I'm sure I don't want to be one of those guys that just says that. I don't try to say that, but on a regular basis. But I think they're just in a funk, and they need to get out of it and wake up. And maybe the coach needs that too.
That's what I was thinking. That kind of goes back to the name of the show. Can the Flyers turn this around in time? And I think that if they do some moves before the trade deadline, because you're right, it needs to happen now. Okay? And when you do things this early, yes, you're going to have to pay a little bit extra and you're going to have to pay top dollar. But I think that if you don't do it now, then you're going to be left out in the cold with, scraps that are going to be left. And who wants that? You know what I'm saying? And why not take the apple when it's ripe on the tree right now? You know what I'm saying? Instead of waiting until it's already been picked. Maybe that's just how I'm looking at it. Do you think the Flyers can turn this around?
I do think so. But like you said, they're going to need to make a major change now. They're going to need to overpay, and I'm fine with that with the assets we have. And the point of the younger guys like Farabee and all these guys that are stepping up, and some of the ones down in Lehigh and at the collegiate level with Cam York.
Yes.
I'm not. As long as you don't trade key pieces like those guys, I believe you could. I think they have enough secondary and third, uh, you know, tier
Depth.
guys
Yep.
that could get a trade done, and I'd be okay with overpaying in order to save this season. I do not want to go through another season where we just chalk it up as a loss, and herein lies another year that Claude Giroux gets older, another year that Voracek gets older. Okay,
Couturier and
we wasted Hartnell's time here. We wasted Wayne's Simmons' time here, and both those guys got old and beat up, and since moved on from the team in order to still get something for them. And I don't want to see us waste another year of these star players that we have here, guys. And that just means that these younger guys are going to get another year older, and we're going to have to pay them. And we're not going to have all the cap space. It's a flat cap, so we need to act, and we need to act now.
and I think we need to be a little bit more fiscally responsible because I think there was some really dumb moves that were made, and I really hope that there's a way that the Flyers can get out of some of that. I hope that there's some teams out there that are willing to take some of the salary off of the Flyers' hands because they're going to need the help. Because if they don't, we're not going to be able to sign some of the key restricted, free agents and stuff that we're going to have coming up here too. So, man, well, I honestly, Lance, if they don't do something, and if they don't do something here soon, I don't think it's going to turn around this year. But I think if they do something soon, and they do get some wins under their belt, and they do start putting it together, that this team, we've seen, this team has the capability. They have the goaltending, they have the offense. We've seen this team has the capability. Can they put it together? If they make some moves and do some things right, maybe they can. You know what I mean? So, oh yeah. Well, hey man, how about that? We got another one in the books, just like that. Gone. This was show number 21.
Wow.
How about that? 21st show, man. How cool is that, right?
That is.
Well, you can get all of your Hockey Writers Inc. information at www.steelflyers.com/links/Hockey Writers Inc. You can follow Lance, your host,
At LNGBASSIST, the number's 39 on
and
Twitter. Yep.
on Twitter, yep. And you can follow me, your co-host, on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Please hit the like and subscribe. Please let us know what you think. We appreciate all of the great feedback and everything. And Lance, thanks very much for another great show, my man. We'll catch you on the flip side, and we'll be bringing you another great one here. So stay tuned for the next one, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.